Another step on the coin's journey. Today, the trail glimmers over West Africa, where a slender land of colors and rhythms meets the Gulf of Guinea. Togo, narrow, vibrant, and steeped in stories, holds the coin's secret this day. Keep watching. The hunt continues.
Togo, narrowest country in the world, just 57 kilometers across at its thinnest. Pressed between Ghana and Benin, a strip of land stretching north and south. Everyone notices how narrow we are.
High above West Africa, a golden coin glides toward a sliver of land. Togo, a nation of just 8 million, its geography is unmistakable. At its narrowest, only 35 miles wide, and never more than 103. A thin corridor stretching 550 kilometers from the Gulf of Guinea.
Matthew 7, 13 and 14. Small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. This is Togo, 57 kilometers wide at the narrowest point. Everyone sees how thin our land is, but the question is bigger. Which road are we walking? Wide is the highway.
Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Make every effort to enter through the narrow door, because many, I tell you, will try to enter.
Of Togo, a choice is rising. From Lomé's busy streets to the Sahel in the north, people are hearing the call. Enter through the narrow gate, Jesus said. Small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it.
Hey, look at me, right here. Which road are you on? Togo, the narrowest country on earth. Jesus said in Matthew 7, the wide road leads to destruction, the narrow one leads to life. Luke says only a few ever find it. Hey.
Yeah. Two roads here, make it clear, without fear, draw him near. Togo is the narrowest country you will ever see. Only 57 kilometers wide, squeezed between, you see. Ghana on one side and Benin on the other there. Narrow strip of land teaches us to care. Matthew 7 verse 13 and 14, Jesus spoke these words. Wide is the gate and broad the road we've heard. It leads to destruction and many enter there. But narrow is the road to life, only few beware. Choose today, find the way, don't delay. What you say, the narrow way, Matthew 7, 13, 14 leads to life today. Luke 13, 23, 24, make every narrow door. Matthew 7, 21, do his will, nothing more. John 14, 6, Jesus is the only way. Togo's narrow geography has something to say. The narrow way, few find it but it leads to life, don't stray. Proverbs 14:12, way seems right but leads to death. Matthew 7, 22, 23, many say Lord with every breath. Romans 12:2, don't conform the world around. 1 John 2:15, in God's love be found. Wide road is popular, easy, comfortable too. Everyone's traveling it, that's what people do. But narrow road is difficult, unpopular and hard. Only few will find it, only few regard. Two paths wide, must decide, can't divide. Choose your side. Whoa. The narrow way, Matthew 7, 13, 14 leads to life today. Luke 13, 23, 24, make every narrow door. Matthew 7, 21, do his will, nothing more. John 14, 6, Jesus is the only way. Togo's narrow geography has something to say. The narrow way, few find it but it leads to life, don't stray. 37, 13, 14, wide gate, broad road, leads to destruction, many enter. Heavy load, small gate, narrow road that leads to life, only a few find it. In the stripe, Luke 30, 20, 24, make every effort, enter narrow door, no deflect. Matthew 7, 21, not everyone says Lord, Lord, only who does will. That's the word. Wide road Had to make a choice, had to end the strife. Now I'm on the narrow road. It's harder than before, but I know it leads to life. That's what I'm living for. The narrow way, the narrow way. Matthew 7, 13, 14 leads to life today.
The narrow way,
the narrow way.
Matthew 7, 13, 14 leads to life today.
Luke 30, 23, 24. Make every narrow door. Matthew 7, 21. Do his will, nothing more. John 46.
Jesus is the only.
For roll narrow, geography has something to say. The narrow way, the narrow way. You find it, but it leads to life. Don't stray away. Why it seems right,
The narrow way,
but choose life.
the narrow way,
Hold on tight
the narrow way,
with all might.
the narrow way,
Jesus only,
the narrow way,
not lonely.
narrow way,
Truth is holy.
narrow way,
Walk it solely.
narrow way.
From Togo, where the nation's narrowest can be, to everyone who's choosing which road to see, remember that the narrow way is what leads to life. Wide road leads to destruction. Choose without strife. Only few will find it. Make every effort now. Jesus is a narrow way. To him we bow. Narrow way,
Leads to life,
few find it.
choose today,
Small gate,
only Jesus,
life eternal.
always.